Yep, we're ready for the next part. Okay, we're going to do a little history real quick. Just a brief venture to Asclepius. Okay, allegedly, it's hard to pinpoint this. Allegedly died in 1237 BC. Allegedly. Okay. The first writing on him is from 750 BC in the Iliad. So it was a real person. We know this person existed, but there's some interesting stories. So we were just in Egypt, right? Now the power, let's just say, the concentration of the world, its resources and academics, going to go from Egypt to Greece. And you know from history that the Greeks often just took whatever Egyptian was and put a Greek name on it. Like they changed a lot of gods' names. That's how a lot of the Greek gods and mythology come about because they just change the names around. But it's the same stories often in that. Um, so Asclepius is this interesting character that's pretty mysterious, but he's kind of like the one who carries the torch from the wisdom of Egypt on into the Greek traditions. So very like in Europe and Greece, especially, this person is highly respected, often called the father of medicine, often sometimes even um, in ancient times would have almost been worshipped or considered like a what we call that a demigod when somebody's a human but has like a well a parent who's a god, right? So in Greek mythology, he was a human, but his father is Apollo, the sun god, which is also a sign of Egypt. So, I mean, whether what that means, right? The sun. Um, Mother was a human. So, this god, these gods in Greek history fallen in love with all these beautiful Greek women, right? They're causing a lot of interbreeding and species changing, right? So he is like, I guess technically in Greek mythology would be called like a demigod because he has a divine parent and a human parent. So um see if I have a story about that. So Apollo, the sun god, um, after he was born, allegedly took him to study with Chiron, who's also known as the centaur, right? The half human, half horse. Yeah. But this person plays a really important role in a lot of traditions in the Western world, like alchemy and secret society, all kinds of wild stuff. This Chiron, whoever this truly was or symbol of, or I don't know, maybe it was like a real thing or something, I don't know. But this person taught a lot of people. So Chiron allegedly taught humans all of the system of medicine and healing. So, like in the Greek tradition, Asclepius, through Chiron, learned all the medicine and everything about healing. We know through history this was brought from Egypt and improved upon and expanded and added upon. Okay. Um, okay. So also, if you're into Greek history, I'll give you a little more background. Some of this is kind of hard to find. Um, so Asclepius was a well-known healer, and allegedly he would connect through his divine gift to receive wisdom onto what plant people needed to heal. The goddess Athena gave him the head of Medusa also. So allegedly he used the blood from the head of, everybody remembers Medusa, the snake-headed person. One of my favorite movies of all time is the what is that old Greek mythology movie? You know the one I'm talking about? Oh, it's so good. There's like a couple claymation scenes where it's Medusa. I can almost think of it. Can't quite pull it out. No, no. Okay. But allegedly, what happened is Hades, right, the god of the underworld who would collect all the bad souls, right, got a little bit upset because he was actually bringing people back to life, like kind of resurrecting them and also saving people who were about to die. Um, so long story short, um, Zeus doesn't like this, so he basically kills them with the thunderbolt, right? And then he's put into the stars. So Zeus does this a lot, by the way. Different kind of Greek history there, right? Okay. So Chiron also taught a lot of other people. This kind of name will show up a lot. But the thing that's most important is we have this lineage. Okay. So this is nerdiness. Some of this is not super relevant, I don't think, but I'm fascinated by it. So in the oral tradition that I received information from, remember we talked about Thoth, who was also called Hermes by the Greeks. Um, we know through the oral tradition that Thoth taught Asclepius' grandfather. Thoth only allegedly taught 3 students. This is, I guess, a known point. And Asclepius' grandfather was one of them. So directly through Egypt is this transmission of medicine and healing and whatever else they knew. Remember, at this time, religion, spirituality, medicine are just one thing. They're not all separate. So there's a lot of like religious and spiritual connotations to this, not just medicine like we think of it today. Okay. Okay. Digest that. Some other historians say Imhotep, who was like one of the great Greek or Egyptian gods slash physicians, was Asclepius. I mean, there's this people have a lot of claims about who this person was. Okay. Okay. What's important is that Asclepius was a real person and he was a healer and he created a bunch of schools of study and they are called um let me get this here. Make sure I spell this right. Um okay. Okay, let me give you a little bit more history. So Thoth, we said, lived during the time of Moses. So Asclepius would be living, to put this into like a timeline, maybe to give you a reference, this would be right at the time Moses is passed away. Fairly, fairly that same time frame. Okay. So he has these places called the Asclepion, where eventually he created a whole system of healing where they had sanctuaries all throughout the ancient world where people came to be healed. Why is this important? Because um, this is all the stuff that we have first documented. Ready? We have a sanitarium, we have a place of refuge. So this is, remember how we said in Egypt, they weren't hospitals yet, but sometimes like people stayed in a doctor's house. So this is like the next evolution. We now have a place where people go for healing, like a hospital, but not exactly a hospital, right? But we're getting there. But it is a place of more healing refuge. They practice in the Asclepian what is literally called the natural cure. This term is still used in Europe today. If you go to a detox spa, they say you are getting the natural cure or the cure. Okay. Using spring water, using hydrotherapy, like water, herbal-based infusions. You are getting a cleansing diet. You are getting spa-like herbal treatments. I don't know the extent of it. And some of these places were huge. One of them that's documented, 160 rooms. I mean, this is huge by ancient standard. A lot of these were underground. They all have a dream chamber because one of the most important parts that so these were actually like physicians slash priests, kind of like in Egypt, because remember, we haven't separated all of it yet. So they function more like physicians, but maybe to some people that might have looked more like a minister or priest or something. But they're doing, every person gets dream therapy. You are put into basically a dream chamber, which I'm assuming is probably like a sensory deprivation. What do we call them in today's, like a float tank? I assume it was like water. Imagine you're in a dark place getting hydrotherapy and dreaming, like sensory deprivation, float tanks. Pretty cool, right? But allegedly, every person allegedly had a dream, and the priest or physician would actually help you interpret what that meant. And often the herbs you needed would be told to the person. Okay. You also get massage. This is also the first known documentation of counseling from like a clinical perspective. So you are also counseled on your emotional well-being. And we have the basic use of cleansing herbs and detoxifying herbs. So this is really where cleansing starts to really take shape as a formalized practice. We'll see this later in Greek medicine. This gets carried on by Hippocrates, right? Is our next person. Okay. So if you ever wonder too, if you ever see like in medical things, sometimes you'll see the staff with two snakes. This is a sign for Hermes, but Asclepius is a staff with one snake. That's the sign or symbol. So again, we have the staff, right? We have the snake. We could talk about the symbology of that. Why is that? What's that doing? What's that mean, right? So, does anybody know what it means, by the way? We all studied like secret society, ancient symbology and that. So the staff is actually your spine. It's a symbol of your spine. Mastery of the human body. So it's like someone carrying a staff. There's two symbols. Number one, it's a sign that you are master of the human body from the top to the bottom. Number two, it's a sign of the life force traveling on the spine. So it's like a sign you're master of controlling, not controlling, but understanding this life force, right? And number three, it's the sign of staff as a symbol of connecting heaven and earth. So it's a symbol that you have divine wisdom, but you also have very earthly, practical wisdom, and you know how to combine it, which kind of like what is being practiced at this time is kind of that, right? Spiritual, emotional counseling together with all these physical treatments, right? And dream, right? Dream therapy. Is that cool? So one snake meaning more just he would be a master of physical healing. When you see the two snakes, this is more of a sign that someone would be like spiritual and physical. Okay. Is that cool? You never knew that, huh? Pretty cool. Um, I could tell you really cool stories about staffs. There's all kinds of fun things. So, right. And the um right, Ark of the Covenant is the staff of Aaron, right? Which is an almond branch, which allegedly sprouts almonds.
And Moses, who had a staff and turned it into a snake.
Yeah, exactly. So the snake, yeah, the same, right? Wisdom and all of this, right? Going to generations. Okay. Okay. So, um, I have some. Where is this? Most of these temples, 400 BC. They're still around and everywhere. A lot of them are still in existence today. They're not being used, but they've survived time. The most important one is the famous tourist site, just called the Asclepion, still in Greece today. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Goes back to 2000 BC. The site, remember how like a lot of cultures will take an ancient sacred site and just kind of repurpose it, right? When, we'll see later, like a lot of monasteries in Europe and England and Ireland are built over very old areas, right? Okay. I had some time quotes. So, oh yeah, one time there were 320 known Asclepian healing places. So this is pretty widespread in ancient times. Okay. Okay. So here is, like I said, I spent a lot of time nerding out on this darn lineage of how we got to where we're at. So here is the next journey we'll study in this actual, I think, living, breathing lineage at one point, right? So the next person that we see that we'll study is Hippocrates. How does so Asclepius is considered the god of medicine in like Greek history, and medicine we call Hippocrates the father of medicine. This is where modern kind of medicine starts to take a little more. We're starting to move away from spiritual religious things, right? The start is happening here. How is he connected to this person? Hippocrates' father was an Asclepian physician priest who actually had a vision and a dream that his son would be this famous healer in the Asclepian temple. So we have this like thing. Galen also, who by the time we get to Galen, most everything is in play that we use today. Galen also received his training in the Asclepian. So when we study Hippocrates, we'll see that I'll have a copy of the actual Hippocratic Oath. That's not what they say in medical school today, okay? Because in the Hippocratic Oath, you pledge your allegiance to the demigod Asclepius, right? So this is not like what's actually done in medical school today. It's like a changed version of the Hippocratic Oath, right? So I always laugh when people say, yes, we took the Hippocratic Oath. I was like, really? You took the Hippocratic Oath? I don't think you did. Historically, I don't think you know what that means. Okay. Why this gets interesting to me is that a lot of people feel this is still a living lineage that branched out into all kinds of different groups and different packages that it gets repackaged in different ways. But a lot of people still claim this is like a living, they can trace their history back to Asclepius in the West. So it's always interested me. Okay, questions? So allegedly the blood from it had special healing powers. That's how he like would raise people who were almost dead, is what the Greek history says. And that's how he got in trouble with Hades. Hades did not like that. He was stealing his customers. Yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I should know Greek history and all the stories more. I can't remember all of it very well. Okay. Okay. What interesting note is that eventually these priests, a lot of them become very wealthy and powerful because, 320 centers, this is like where kind of like the hospital of the day, they kind of had a monopoly, right? And eventually, a lot of these priests actually become the first bankers of the world. This is like interesting. See this history, how medicine always wants to start to do weird things, right? We see it always likes to start to control, it likes to start to go to like money places and monopoly places. So a lot of these priests actually become powerful bankers because there's a lot of donations, monies, gifts, gold, I imagine, and other precious things that people are donating. You got to do something with it. You got to have a safe place for all of it, right? So it's kind of cool. Not cool, but interesting history to know. Okay. Okay. There's a lot of Greek oral history, or there's a lot of Greek written histories of people talking about their experience. And a lot of people claim that Asclepius in these dream chambers came to them directly and told them what they needed. And then the people would help them interpret what those plants were and different things. So, yeah. So there's been a lot of psychiatry historians who have wrote about the counseling that was done as far as what we know in these times. And it's considered like the first kind of professional counseling. Like people would have been able to share their emotions and talk about their dreams and have their dreams interpreted and like talking about why maybe their diseases were happening because of stress and things like that. So it's interesting history, right? Okay. I don't know that we know, or somebody might. We don't have any herbal formulas that came directly from him that I'm aware of that exist still today. But once we get to Hippocrates and later, we do have a lot of like formulas all these people left that we still have traces of. So I'm sure there are some in existence, but I don't know what they are personally. Never collected any. But I imagine if we went to Greece and talked to a lot of people in the countryside and little old grannies that know a lot of like history of it, we'd find some really cool things.